Hello, book besties. Welcome back. Today we are going to be wrapping up April because it's been a wonderful reading month and I have a lot to do the next couple of days, so we have to finish that today because I know I'm not going to finish anything else in the next couple of days that we have left of the month. So hopefully this will come out when it's supposed to. But anyway, for context, today is April 29th. So let's get into it. The first book I finished this month was Assassin's Quest, which is the third book in the Farseer series by Robin Hobb. And I actually talked a lot about this series on my previous reading wrap up because it was a fantasy series that I started reading based on a recommendation from another booktuber. And it caught me so off guard how much I liked it because I'm typically not a fantasy person, like this kind of fantasy at least. And the fact that I was able to get through the entire series and I was hooked, even though the first book I had no idea what was going on, but I got to the third book and I was so invested in the series. Now I do have to say, why was that book so long? I feel like it dragged. I get it that it couldn't be just very easy for our main character to get, his objective. I don't want to give spoilers, so this might sound kind of weird, but for our main character to get his objective. But it just dragged. It just dragged so much. Like he kept going from place to place and trying to find this other guy, and where the heck was this other guy, and then this other guy is obsessed with waking up a dragon, and it's a whole thing. But it was still so entertaining. In the process of this guy being insistent in getting the other guy back, and the other guy being so insistent in waking up the dragon, I think that the time that was spent in that main plot point allowed for a lot of character development for everyone else. I think we got to see a lot of things from the other characters and we got to see them through. We were able to find closure for everyone, not just the main characters. Like I feel like all the characters, the side characters, were as complex as the main ones. So I really appreciated that, and I would feel like that made me actually feel close to the characters and engage with them. So definitely enjoyed that aspect. And I'm probably talking like, well, girl, that is what fantasy is about. Well, I'm not a fantasy reader, so I can't tell for sure if that's the case. So we'll see. I hopefully will continue to give fantasy more of a try in the future because I really enjoyed that series. So I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it and I'm probably gonna enjoy a lot more. I really hope to start reading more fantasy, like deep fantasy, high fantasy, not just romantasy, which is what I typically read, or like YA fantasy is what I typically read. I want to get into the normal fantasy. So if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments because I definitely don't know where to start with that genre. The next book I finished was Broken Pieces by Jean Quiros, and I love this book. This is a Puerto Rican author, first and foremost, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I absolutely loved her writing. I loved the main characters. I already forgot the names because this was a month ago, okay? This was the beginning of the month. And I actually started reading this book in March. So right now my brain is like, we have no idea what's going on. But anyway, I have to say that Damien, oh, I did remember, Damien Romano, Mr. Italian morally gray hotshot. Man, this man, come on. He was fantastic. I absolutely got invested in the way that the author developed these characters, in the sense that usually, not usually, but there's certain romance books that feel kind of superficial in the sense that they only focus on the romance and the things happening around the characters are not really that deep or that important. Whereas with Damien and what's her name? I don't remember her name. Oh my gosh, I'll have to look it up. But with Damien and the girl, they had really deep rooted trauma and issues with their families, which make them distrust each other and distrust what they were feeling. And I loved how they were able to help each other fix that and trust and love and feel comfortable in getting in a relationship. I especially loved, and this might be a little bit of a spoiler, I especially loved Damien defending her. Like, there were two characters in the story that were absolutely trash to her. And the way he stood up for her and he straight up told him, like, I will end you. Like, you have no right to talk to her like that, and you're not gonna do it on my watch. And I was like, Damien, oh my gosh. But we can't give Damien all the credit because she also did a big move for him. Like, it was a badass move. Now, I do have to admit that in the beginning of that scene, that I'm not going to say which scene it was because you'll know when you read it. In the beginning of that scene, the main character, the girl main character, she does something that feels, well, not at the beginning of the scene, in the middle of the scene. She does something that feels kind of out of character, of kind of out of pocket. Like it felt like it didn't match the storyline or her as a character up to that point. And then when you see the ending of that scene and you see the other characters that come in, it clicks, okay, that makes sense that happened. But it definitely kind of threw me off a little bit because it was like, wait a second, this doesn't match. Like, this kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, it worked. You know, it worked. It gave the element of surprise and it gave her an extra edge as a character. So I did appreciate that being the case. But yeah, I absolutely love that book. Like, I think I immediately started reading the second one, which is Broken Deal. The thing is that I haven't been reading a lot on my Kindle recently. And obviously, because I'm a mood reader, as you already probably know, I have been reading a lot of other stuff. So I started another Kindle book, which is a dark romance. And I've been starting a whole bunch of other stuff. So I actually haven't really been paying attention to that book. But I have to get back to it. I definitely have to because it's a really good series and the author is fantastic. So, Broken Pieces, I think it was a 5 stars that I rated it. And then Broken Deal is on the works. I don't know if I'm gonna read it for my main TBR slash talk about it on my main wrap up, because I need to really be in the right mindset to read it, and I want to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first one. So I don't want to just push myself to read it just because. So this might be a summer wrap up situation, but we'll see because I might surprise myself and just be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna read it, and then read the whole thing. We are taking a little bit of a cereal break here because I'm gonna eat soon, like actual food, I think, hopefully. But I feel like if I don't eat something now, I'm gonna collapse while I wait for actual food time. So we're gonna take a little cereal break and I'm gonna continue telling you what I've been reading. So this is gonna be kind of a weird angle because I don't know where my tripod is, but I know it's not anywhere near me right now. So I'm just gonna eat my cereal and gonna talk to you about the next book. At this point in the month, I went through kind of a nonfiction personal development kick kind of thing. So the next book that I read is Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, I think. And this was a recommendation from one of my friends. And it was wild. It was honestly wild. It is a psychiatry book that connects with the spiritual realm kind of thing. Now, I am not very knowledgeable or very into like the whole spirituality thing, but I really enjoyed the way that this book went about the topic because it seems, saying that this is true, that this actually happened, the book gives us a different perspective and shows us how spirituality and psychology or psychiatry can connect. And I find that very valuable. It's like we're combining science, but we're also combining spirituality. And I like that combo. So I definitely recommend that read. I can't say it was like a mind-blowing book in the sense of it being like favorite book ever. But in terms of the content, I think it was a really important book. At least for me, at least for my own journey and my own like learning experiences. I think that book was definitely something that I needed to read. And I got it from the library. I listened to it literally in a couple hours because it's a very short book. I was cleaning that day and I was like, oh, let me pop on my AirPods and just listen to it. And I'm really glad I read it because it definitely gave me a lot of perspective. And also, and I'm going to overshare a little bit here, but I've been in the process of grief as well. And I think that book really helped me like think about certain things and like process all of that, all of those emotions a little better. So even though the book is not about that, it helped me connect certain things in my head to make it easier for me to, you know, process those emotions. And let me not talk too much about that because I'll start crying, but you know, like the book was helpful. That's the point, I guess. Okay, this might actually be a better angle. You are currently sitting on top of a paint can, resting against a roll of paper towels. But we gotta do what we gotta do, you know. As content creators, I feel like we managed to make it work. So anyway, the next book I read was also kind of in the same line of the spirituality thing. I had both of these audiobooks together, like at the same time from the library. So as soon as I finished Many Lives, Many Masters, I started the next one, which was The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And it was very interesting because there's a book that I actually want to buy physically. It looks at art and being an artist from a spiritual perspective. And yes, it kind of alludes to religion a little bit, but she prefaces in the beginning of the book and says like the word God or something like that is going to be used, but you can give it the meaning that it works for you, you know, like we're not talking about a specific God from a specific religion. This is more about what connects you with your higher power. And so I feel like her saying that in the beginning really helped me connect with the book in a better way. Now, the book has, I think it's 10 weeks of tasks to do to help you connect with yourself as an artist. I really want to read it in a physical form so that I can annotate it, because I feel like this is the type of book that is not meant to be done, at least for me, it's not meant to be done back to back and really quickly. It's meant to be something that I work on slowly as the weeks match with where I'm at, you know. It's more of an independent experience and making the book work for you. And I think she even describes something like that in the book. It's like 10 weeks and it's a course that she gives to her students. But at the end of the day, if you don't finish every single task for every single week, it's fine, because you're not expected to. If you do it, awesome. But the point is for you to find the things that are more connected to you or that make more sense for you in your artistic journey, and then go ahead and put them into practice. And so I did find, I think it was a Substack or something that has the entire course listed out, and I did start doing it, but it just doesn't feel the same. So I really want to see if I can get the book. I'm going to see if I can find it at my book thrift store and just annotate, like as I go, use the book as guidance, because I definitely feel like that's something that I want to keep and I want to revisit. And so yeah, I'm going to be in the process of finding the book soon-ish, hopefully. I don't know, but yeah, that is a book that I really want to get. And I'm also reading another book on art that I think it's something about painting, but it's very much a process of putting into practice tasks or actions to turn you into an artist. So yes, it's meant to be focused on painting, but the reality is that you can apply it to anything. Like I've been doing the exercises in the book. I've been doing them with a journal and a highlighter. So it's more about getting it out there and doing it rather than following to the T the exact task or the way that the authors did the task. But I'll talk about that book on my next one, hopefully on my next wrap up, because I haven't really been touching it the last couple weeks. I've been, like I said, with a lot of stuff. So I'll hopefully be able to finish it before the month ends, because that one is from the library, so I do have to return it. And then, go ahead and talk about it with you guys. I realized that I've been jabbing and my cereal is, in the milk. So it's gonna taste weird if I don't eat it. So cereal break. Okay, now that I have eaten my cereal, we can continue this conversation. So, next book was also an audiobook, and it was a mystery, murder mystery kind of thing. I think it's YA. It's Home is Where the Bodies Are. This is a book that I've been checking out for a little bit because the cover of the book really caught my attention. It's like a videotape. And every time I went to stores like Barnes & Noble or pretty much anywhere that I would see it, I would be like, that book really calls me. But not enough for me to buy it. I don't know why. So it's been on my to buy list for a while, but I figured, let me just get it from the library and see what's up. Now, I'm glad I didn't buy it because I wouldn't say it is the kind of book that I would want to have a physical copy of. But as far as the story went, it was good. You know, I should have seen the plot twist coming, and I didn't. And I think that's a me problem. Like, I tend to do that a lot when I'm reading. I don't really focus on anticipating what's happening. Like, yes, I do have my theories and whatnot, but I don't actually get really focused on trying to figure it out. If I had really focused on it, I would have probably gotten it. The storyline is simple enough that you can kind of clock what happens. But if you don't want to really spoil it for yourself, just like don't try to think about it too much. I definitely feel like the dynamics between the siblings that are the main characters were really good. They have a lot of character growth, and you start to see people's true colors. I really liked the fact that the ones that didn't seem like good people ended up being good people, and the ones that seemed like good people ended up not being good people. And a gray area in the middle of that. There is one character that's very questionable, and then there are just other adjacent characters that are also kind of like, can I trust this person or not? And the way that one of the characters manipulates situations, it's insane. These people are like bold. They're like, they have the level of audacity of these people is crazy. But anyway, the book is really good. I can't say too much without spoiling it, but the book is really good. It's definitely a simpler storyline, so if you're looking for a very complex murder mystery, that's definitely not it. I think this might be a YA or something along those lines. So it's not particularly grotesque, it's not particularly gross or descriptive or anything like that. It's a very simple murder mystery. The next book that I read felt very validating, and the reason for that is because it's another nonfiction. And it's also kind of a psychology book. The book is Quiet, something about the power of introverts or something like that. And I loved how this book really showcased how being an introvert is not a bad thing. I've always been an introvert, obviously. And I have always been treated like there's something wrong with me. And that is something that gets to you. It gets to your self-esteem, it gets to your personality. It turns you into someone that feels like they can't be in this world, and like the world is not meant for you. And it makes it extremely difficult to just exist. This book really focused on that experience, and also on the fact that there are a lot of places in the world that manipulate people into being extroverts, and a lot of fake extroverts out there. People that you think are very outgoing, very extroverted, very like, they want to be in everything and they want the attention on themselves and they want to be with other people so they can recharge from social activities. And the reality is that a lot of people who act that way are actually not that way. They created a mask, or they created a persona that they show to the world because they think that is the way that they have to be. And I always struggle with that. I thought that that was something that I had to do, but I never really managed to do it. And I'm glad I didn't, because that would have made me lose the essence of who I am as a person. I really loved how, even though the author focuses on introversion and it focuses on her research, because this is a research-based book, she doesn't make extroverts feel bad about being extroverts. She basically comes to the conclusion that the world runs because there are introverts and extroverts. This is a team effort. We are both necessary. Like, both personalities are necessary, and neither of the personalities will truly function without the other, because extroverts can turn into very impulsive decision making people, and introverts kind of, calm that down and allow for more thought to happen. But then introverts might not actually talk to each other. So if there are no social interactions, how are you going to get anything done? So we do need everyone. We do need people who are out there. We need people who are unafraid to speak up and like talk about what's happening or what needs to be done. But we also need people who can take a step back and can really think about things and can really analyze and bring solutions that require more quiet and isolated thinking, right? And not to say that, one personality can't do the things that the other personality type does, because we definitely can. It's more about, I guess, the general behaviors in the larger group. She goes way deeper into this whole thing. I don't even know if I'm explaining it correctly, but she goes really deep into each of the personalities and what's good about them, what's not so good about them, and where they overlap to help each other. Like, this is definitely a team effort. And I really, really enjoyed that approach, because that's the kind of book that I feel like, even though it's catered to introverts, I think extroverts could really use it as well, like read it, because it not only would allow them to understand introverts, but also would allow them to see how they can benefit from having an introvert in their lives and careers or whatever, and how both personalities can coexist and actually create better results because they're collaborating, right? So from there, I went back into my romance and I read Done and Dusted by, what's her name? Anyway, I read Done and Dusted. And why did I take so long to read that book? I had been super invested in cowboy romances since I read Writer's Block. And I think I talked about that book so much. Like, it was insane. I was obsessed with that book. And I hadn't picked up another cowboy romance until now, until I picked up Done and Dusted. And this was also an audiobook from the library. And wow, that was so cute. Like, it was such a nice romance. I devoured that book. I don't think it took me like 2 days to listen through. And it was because I was doing other stuff, so I had to pause. But it was so good. Like, I loved how the female was the one with the cowgirl vibes, like the writer vibes, instead of the male. Because typically it's the guy that is like the cowboy and the one that races and whatever. But in this case, it's the girl. And I love that. I loved how he was such an important part of her recovery with something that happened to her, and how he was able to motivate her and help her feel confident again in her skills. Like, it was just so cute. Like, I feel, and I keep saying like, why do I keep saying like? Anyway, I really enjoyed the fact that they went from enemies to lovers, and the male main character, it wasn't a superficial switch, I think he really earned her trust, and he really worked for that relationship and demonstrated that he wanted her. Like, it was something deep. It wasn't something like away from who they were. Like, you know how many enemies to lovers books go from, they both have an independent goal that happens to be the same goal, and they're kind of competing with each other, and then somehow they end up falling in love in the process. In this case, that wasn't it. It was more like, she's struggling, we kind of hate each other but not really, and I'm gonna help her with her issue. And then she also kind of gets involved with some of his stuff as well, but it's mostly him with her stuff. And that's how they become lovers. It's like he's putting in the effort and helping her through a very difficult moment. And I think that is everything. That is honestly everything. I loved how developed their relationship and their trust, and just like how things played out. Last book I finished, and I actually finished this one yesterday, was First Time Caller by BK Borison. And you probably already heard me talk about this because I already recorded a video about this, but I'm thinking that that video is actually gonna come out after this one, so you'll probably see me with the same clothes at some point in it. But anyway, first time caller, BK Borson. Let's start with this. Okay, BK Borson is amazing. She's one of my auto buy authors. I can't necessarily say that I've bought her books because I've been reading them from the library, but this book, I got it for my birthday as a present, and I had been waiting for it. Like, this book came out the day before my birthday, and I knew it was destiny for me to read it and love it. And I did. It took me a whole month to read it. Not because the book was bad, but because I was distracted with a lot of stuff that I've been doing. And also because I've been reading everything at the same time. But this one was a physical book, and I annotated it, and it was great. Lucy and Aiden. I'm going to be thinking about Lucy and Aiden for a while. I think the way that their dynamic developed was very, very cute. I love the involvement of the other characters in their love story, because they do get a lot of support from both parts, like from his side, his friends, and from her side, her family. And it's just a very precious story. I think that it's a very unique point of view, or like plot point, for it to be like a radio show kind of thing. I'm not saying that it's like it's never been done, because I have never, like, I'm not sure about that. Probably it has. But I personally have never read a book like that. So for me, it's a new thing. And I love it. I have read like reality TV ones and like TV show ones, but not the radio ones, I think. And I was absolutely in love with it, because it was so ironic. Aiden being like the host of a love related show, and then being like such a grump, like, boy. But you see throughout the book why he becomes like that, and how he recognizes that he loves himself, and he loves the essence of, you know, who he was. Like, it comes to a point where he doesn't recognize himself, and I love how his character develops. Like, I mentioned this in the other video, but Lucy's character feels like she's already in a good place mentally, emotionally, except for the manifestation of her having kind of hesitancy into going into a love, you know, like getting out there and dating and whatnot, because of things that she's experienced, and because she's very focused on raising her kid. Whereas Aiden is like completely blocked, like emotionally, not just in the relationship aspect, at least with a significant other, but he's also blocked with everyone else. Like, he doesn't let people in at all. And so I think that the way they help each other overcome those fears and overcome those insecurities, but especially the way that Aiden works through his trauma and makes it so that he's able not just to fix her relationship with Lucy, but also fix his relationship with everyone else, because he was having problems with his friends, parents, and like even with himself. So I feel like the way that he was able to overcome all of that, and the way that Lucy was part of that, to me, that was absolutely precious. I loved it. It came to a point that I finished the book and I kept thinking about it, and I just had to sit down, just sit there and hug the book, because like, it's not every day you get a book that gets into your heart so intensely, and I think that book really did that for me. I think there were a lot of healing aspects of it, the way that the characters talk about their emotions and the things that they've gone through. And of course, this is an open door romance, so you also get that aspect of it, and that connection between them, with them just getting into it. So beware if you're not into that kind of stuff. But overall, it was probably one of my favorite books I've read this year. Like, I love the Love Light Farms series. I loved First Time Caller, and I need to get my hands on Good Spirits, because I know I will love that one too. So I'm not even gonna question buying it. Like, that one, I'm just gonna go ahead and get it as a physical, and then whenever I see a special edition of Love Light Farms, I'm probably gonna get it. So I'm hoping that happens. I haven't seen any, so if you know of any special editions, let me know. But I don't think there's any of them out yet. But yeah, those were all the books I read in April. It was a good reading month, even though I've been really busy. Now I'm in the process of reading Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, just came out. And that is probably going to be one of my first books on my May reading wrap up because I'm so invested. I started as soon as I finished First Time Caller after I hugged the book. I gave myself a few minutes and I started it, and it was one of those books that you just get hooked immediately. Like, I read the first chapter and I was already in the world. I am loving it and I have so many thoughts, but I will wait to share them later because I might actually make a vlog talking about that book. So I'm in a recording mood. You might see me in the same outfit 3 times because I am in a recording mood. So I'm very much inclined to starting recording a reading vlog for that book. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'll catch you on the next one.